Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm so honored you are here becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. I know I promised you another Mabel, Monique, Monica extravaganza, and it's really ironic because the third point was addiction to busyness. And when I tell you that I am still coming to terms with this as someone who definitely got her worth out of staying busy, I have to freely admit that I have grown finding fertility to what finding fertility is off of the addiction of being busy. And releasing those patterns has been a journey. And it really started with me getting into deep surrender. That's why surrender became S in dreams. And then when my father came to live with me for end of care, I got really pushed into surrender and had to let go of the busyness. And this past week and a half has just been consumed with things that were not on my calendar. And I just haven't gotten to be able to really create a well thought out story. And that was my commitment to myself that I wasn't going to just push through these stories and these podcasts with Monique, Monica, and Mabel. And it just didn't get done to the standard that I want it to be. So that's okay because we have an amazing podcast over the next 2 weeks. I've split this interview because it's a longer-ish interview. So over the next 2 weeks, you actually get to hear me talk to one of my mentors, pretty much my main mentor over the past year and a half. Her name is Tali Miller. She reads patterns for a living. I obviously was very drawn to her because I can see patterns myself, and that's how I'm so good at seeing the holes in your journey and being able to call you out on your BS. Well, a good coach or a good mentor always has a good coach or mentor in their life as well. So I'm really excited to share this interview with you guys a little bit sooner than I thought I was going to. Without further ado, today's part one with Tali Miller.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you face to face finally after 2 years.
I know, right?
I was thinking that this morning. I was like, oh my God. Oh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm excited for this. It's been really nice just to like slowly read it, right?
Yeah.
I'm on Substack, just listening to your book once a week, kind of like a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think especially for people who are really new to this concept, like it's good. Like because you just need to digest this stuff like one
Yes.
little
Which is
nugget.
exactly why I did it this way. I was like, I'm about ready to throw so much at people. I just feel like I can take them. I feel like people would be more consistent if they just turned it into a ritual like what you were doing. My
Mhm.
intention is that people would listen to it like a podcast or do it together and want to get the book and then go back and revisit it and highlight stuff and work through it. And, I got criticized for it because people just want the book, right? They
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted it, and I was like, right, but this is for people, this is for a broad audience.
Yeah.
people who are newer, who are mid, and who are, well into their path. And I think there's going to be a pace for everybody. But now that it's like available, people can just do whatever they want. But
Yeah.
I'm glad I jump started it on, almost halfway through the book at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Substack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the major issue for people, right? Especially us women who are super type A. We just want all the answers right now. And I know,
Mhm.
and you know, even better, like you can't do it all. You
I
cannot
was like,
do
yeah, and I'm
everything.
I'm going to frustrate the hell out of you by forcing you to
Yeah.
slow down and take this in and take time for yourself every week. I had to force myself too. Like I have to show up still and make sure that I'm recording the content and showing up for myself and showing up for you guys too. Like
Yeah.
I have maybe have a week or two out on a lot of this stuff. And it's my own ritual too.
Hmm.
Like it's as much as and I'm rereading some of this stuff and I was like, God damn, like this
Yeah.
just came through me. You know what I mean? I was like, I said that. Like,
I know, right?
oh yeah. Like, oh yeah. And I'm
Um,
just reading the mistakes, like I had this editor who read it 5 times and you can't see it. When
no.
you read it too much, you just can't see it. And I'm just like, "Ugh, whatever, I'm human, fine." Like,
Exactly. I think that's the thing too, is just letting that perfectionism go when something's trying to come out of you. And just being willing to be like, people call you out, like, oh, you spelled that wrong, or this was wrong. It's like, oh, well, like, move
yeah,
on. Like,
yeah.
I'm not in high
Mhm.
school. I'm not going to get an F. I'm not going to
Right.
fail.
Good thing I'm not turning it in as a dissertation or a
Right.
PhD. I was like, yeah, how did that feel for you? Like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did it feel for you to notice that spelling error in the control chapter?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I mean, I have had to let it go to the point of like the cover not being an inch perfect within its life, with the color being CYMK, to the
Hmm.
publishing, to me not wanting to do Amazon, but realizing they were the easiest way to go, to like
Right.
all of it. I just had to surrender. And
Hmm.
it's been a very humbling process. But now I know, like for book two, like the roadmap is just laid out for me
Is
now.
a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I always struggle to tell people what kind of work we do. Like when I am like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I have this mentor. Her name's Tali.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you do with her? I don't really know.
Quantum,
I just show
quantum
up,
psychology.
right?
Yeah.
So explain to the listeners in
Yeah.
layman's terms
Yeah.
what your forte is.
Okay. It's a great question. I think that's probably the reason why I have grown at a steady pace. Like I had this first initial hit on TikTok, which was unexpected. This is how you know, like it's just God, right? Like this is how you know it is the universe is at play. Like I had to pop off when I did and fill my schedule up to seeing the thousands of people that I met in 6 months to be
Hmm.
able to write this book.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say it short term that frequency work is quantum psychology with body-based practices. And you can call it energy medicine, you can call it woo, you can call it whatever you like. And a lot of people have been skirting around just being really straight with what this work is. There's been taking various approaches.
Hmm.
In the past, this type of work has been relegated to a psychic, to a medium, to or physical based frequency practitioners,
Hmm.
EDMR, or people who are doing body somatic work or using machines, right? Like biofeedback and things like that. All of it's great. All of it's amazing. But essentially, if you are perceptually able to perceive patterns in the unseen and then attach those patterns to pain in the body, you're doing a quantum psychology, psychosomatic based practice.
Hmm.
And you can Google quantum psychology. I dub it as quantum psychosomatics. It's very like intellectually heady for a lot of people to get their head wrapped around. But if you break down the words, it's essentially um, peering into using an intuitive sense.
Hmm.
It's perception work through the body. So the evolution of it has been New Age. Okay, New Age was star seeds.
Hmm.
Okay, so New Age was the land of star seedom.
Yep.
Okay, and psychic tools and tarot cards and crystals and rituals and remote viewing practices, and
Mhm.
learning all of this. This is what took us the last 20 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Before that, very early before that, this was like standard stuff, like Tesla age, Tesla era. If you look into any of his archives, he's doing this type of work.
Mhm.
We have Rife frequency machines killing, cancer cells. Where did that information come from? Right. So if we open our minds to the quantum mechanical aspect of things, which is what the field that I play into, which is the cosmology, the unseen, playing with terms like the quantum vacuum and, using physics terms like superposition and string theory and quantum entanglement, which has become a TikTok cliche.
Mhm.
Um, but there's actual physical science coming out that these are tools where information that isn't related to each other is all of a sudden changing through through observation or measurement.
Mhm.
So the next wave is energy medicine by way of what I believe is going to be a quantum-based
Mhm.
technology. However, you want to do that. You want to lay on a gravity mat. You want to lay on you want to lay on a gravity mat that's using subtle body frequencies to move energy in the field while you have a red light mask on your face, listening to frequencies in your ear, like, fine. Okay. Like, you're in energy medicine all the time. If you're walking in nature, energy medicine. If you're listening to frequencies or music, you're in energy medicine. There's no
Mhm.
difference. So I'm blending these fields essentially. I'm taking this spiritual, it's part of what my mission is here, is
Mhm.
to bridge and synthesize in a grounded spiritual way psychology, spirituality with a quantum physical approach. And so you can start to identify the stuff for yourself, clear your own patterns,
Mhm.
come online and, essentially just experience more joy,
Yeah.
creativity, connection, synchronicity, all of that stuff. And I give credit to people who have been, some of the predecessors that have attempted to talk about a lot of this stuff and have been relegated to like Gaia. You
Mhm.
have Dr. Lipton, there's real science there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dr. Joe Dispenza has been blasted 6 ways from Sundays. He's been infiltrated, but his
Yeah.
information's good. The neuroscience he talks about is real. Um,
You know what's
and
crazy? I saw him live, kind
yeah.
of on this weird point. I don't know if I was working with you at the time, but a kind of like switch. Like I started seeing things in a different way, and I saw him
Hmm.
live
Hmm.
just by chance. Like I didn't even know he was really going to be there. I bought this ticket before they like announced he was going to be there,
Yeah.
and his eyes were black.
Yeah. I mean,
And
we're
I was
talking
listening to
consumed.
him and I was like, you, what you're saying, I get it. I understand it, but your whole energy, your whole presence
Hmm.
does not add up to me.
Mm-mm.
So it was a weird because no one was I hear people now say that about Joe, but at the time, like no one was really talking about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. So I've actually seen that for myself. And I do one of the modalities that I studied was Psyche, and Bruce Lipton is
Mm-hmm.
a really big fan of that. But
Hmm.
as I was going through Psyche, I was like, you guys are a cult. I was like, this is crazy. Like, you guys, this information that Psyche is should be in a book, should be taught to everyone who can read. And you're
Hmm.
all gatekeeping it. And it's not expensive. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not crazy. But at the same time, I'm sitting there going, like, you guys are a cult. Like, this is not the vibes.
Hmm. It kind of all ends up being that way because people typically have a joiner mentality, which, as you know, I have an entire chapter
Hmm.
dedicated to that shit, like how this happens. And I'm the first person to say, I was like, fuck, man, I am not your guru. Do not put me on a pedestal because I'm gonna fall right off of it. I promise
Yeah.
you, because I'm in
Hmm.
this shit too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm teaching you, yeah, I might be like, might have more practice, right? And more synthesization with how I see stuff. And I can get right in there for other people, but it doesn't make me better than you. It just makes me a little bit more practice than you. It's like 10,000 hours kind of vibes versus someone who's got one or two. You're going to have
Yeah.
a different nuance, right?
Hmm.
Um, so, but yeah, I mean, eventually everything kind of becomes a cult. I mean, I think, psychology is starting to slowly turn or its corner here into um Jungian studies, which is why I never went back and got a master's or PhD. I was like, I looked at the curriculum and I was like, word, you guys have 3 semesters of Jungian studies. I was like, why on earth would I go study a fucking man who is not going to teach me about quantum physics anyway?
Mm.
And I was like, great, I'm going to have to be in school for the next 4 decades if I want to do all this stuff. So I
Yeah.
just had to create it. I had to create my own whatever. And people who are going to find me are going to find me. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have to, they're starting. So IFS was my point. Internal family systems is like where hard-based psychology, like physics-based psychology or physical-based psychology, like the Western traditional Ivy League school system can start to get their head wrapped around IFS, the
Yeah.
internal family systems, which talks about inner child work. And I was like,
Hmm.
wow, groundbreaking. Really? We're now talking about inner kiddos, huh? Love
Hmm.
that for us.
Yeah.
And I just ran up against issues everywhere. I mean, I've been in like curriculum after curriculum with cognitive behavioral therapy to traditional psychology to depth psychology, and all of it led me to theory. It's all
Yeah.
theory. And so I was like, well, fuck, I can do that. It's like, here, um, my theory is quantum psychosomatic, quantum psychology, and you can pick your own, there's essentially my thesis is slave.
Yeah.
And I'm basing everything off that. So if you just narrow your patterns down to 5, then I think that gives people parameters and it makes
Hmm.
it less overwhelming because most people just don't know why they feel so shitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't
And
know
it's
how they feel so separate.
Yeah, and I think too, what I've discovered is people with, and I hate using this terminology, but I don't really know what else to say, is like the big T's, they can look back and be like, oh, I understand why I'm fucked up. Or like people like me who didn't have those, but had that like very drawn out emotional neglect. The parents weren't, they were present, but not really. They were functioning alcoholics. They were
Yeah.
fine. We never
Hmm.
had like a real bad time. And I
Harder.
just could not understand why I
Yeah.
felt the way I felt for so many years. And then obviously working with you and other, just piecing it slowly together, it's like, oh, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. Your cases are harder.
Yeah.
It's harder for archetypes like you. It's very similar to me. Although there was like moments of explosiveness, like, oh, that checks out.
Yeah.
That matches the trauma I feel inside. And it's just been this once you see stuff, you can't unsee it, but you don't know what you're looking at because the gaslighting just gets so expert level
Mm-hmm.
and the your brain almost just gets become so it's so anesthetized by subtle cues of this disconnection and trauma that you kind of don't know what's normal.
Mm-hmm.
So the normalization becomes this disconnection and this hypervigilance and this heightened state of like, oh, every family is like that, of dysfunction,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so your body just doesn't know normalcy. So when this work starts and people actually start to regulate, the biggest challenge comes in being able to receive and um not panic when there's nothing to fix,
Yeah.
right? When shit's good.
Yeah.
When shit's actually good and you're like, um, okay, so now what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, how do I do this? And it is the the journey of the woman learning how to surrender and soften and receive pleasure. The
Mm-hmm.
journey of the man is to learn how to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Is your partner willing, is your partner someone to die for? And is your partner as a woman someone you fully surrender to and trust?
Yeah.
This is the archetype. Okay, this is the hero's journey of women and men. And I mean, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, the the it, the dynamic of the partnership, heterosexual or not. It's an energetic arc, hero's
Yeah.
arc. But I was like, man, once you get first, you have to work through the layers, right? The superficial layers, the superficial energetic layers, and then you kind of get into, let's say, the lineage layers, the generational layers, and then it becomes the meta layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dimensional layers. Like you're more on purpose now. There's more synchronicity, there's joy. That numbfication is gone. And now you're just in this place where you're like, yeah, the contractions are a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel a lot less constrained by the density of what's happening around me. I'm able to find my 0 point kind of all the time.
Yeah.
Even if I'm cycling through those, call them spiritual contractions, expand that expansion and contraction, that frequency just happens less as baby pulses.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't feel as crazy or disconnected from yourself. And I think
Yeah.
that's a win. You know what I mean? If you can access baby parts of that, I mean, I would assume that you're a testament to that, right?
Yeah. Oh,
You can
absolutely.
look
Yeah.
at where we started versus where you are now. I mean, I can sense the change. I
Hmm.
can feel the change. I see the change in you. And I mean, it's been an honor to witness. It's
Yeah.
amazing to be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of
So
course.
before we jump into some of the things that you get thrown in the fire for saying online, because there's a
Oh,
few hot
I
topics
got
that I
dragged.
that I just love because I'm sitting there going like, yes, that's how I felt too.
Yeah.
But I want to first really get into people that why is the body work so important? Because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of us that start this and we're astro projecting and we're like meditating and we like get out of our bodies. And I've only heard two practitioners, yourself and another woman, talk about getting into your body, grounding, using that grounding energy, whether you're throwing a cord down, you got roots in your feet, whatever it is, bringing that energy back up or running energy in your body, getting your higher self to be in, like find your location. You talk about like, locating yourself in space and time. Why is that a game changer for people?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Well, first, I fucked off the body for years because I was like, whatever. Like, it's all out there. I have to connect to something that's out there. And I worked really hard at not avoiding having to be responsible for the body just because I didn't know. And again, this is just the arc of consciousness and the wave of it. Certifying myself in yoga helped because I started to understand the physiology of the body, but I really loved the psychology stuff
Hmm.
of everything I was learning with my teacher who was a triple degree, Pacific graduate student of Jungian, whatever, right? I was going to go right down that path. Okay. I was like, here I'm going right there. And I was like, not going there. Everything I have is within me. I already know it. I just need to believe it and have it be revealed to me. So I hit a massive spiritual wall. I wasn't finding what I needed. Just as a little backstory for people, I did not find relief in what I felt and knew was possible in a lot of the traditional places I was looking. At the time, was like, I'm not really feeling the starseed stuff. People aren't talking in English. And yeah, I get some of the talk therapy that I spent decades in, but that wasn't getting me anywhere. It was keeping me in the loop. And then I would do yoga, but it felt really slow, really, really slow. So it wasn't until that I kind of I started to understand the body differently with a chiropractor. So I've talked about Dr. Richard Bartlett before. I've
Hmm.
mentioned him in the book. And he was the first person that started to blend the physics aspect of things, like the science stuff, talked about torsion. And I was like, oh my God, wait, my mind's popping off my body right now. Like my head is going to spin off because he was super unserious
Yeah.
um and like kind of like pretty certifiable, but also kind of a genius. Like decided
Yeah.
to go back to chiropractor school twice or however many times he went through. He went to med school twice just for fun. And I'm like, okay. But I started to understand the spinal network system.
Hmm.
He kind of started to access the nervous system and the spinal network system. And the nervous system was like talking about Mars. No one really connected that. And I was like, wait, everything is the nervous system. How is no one talking about this? This is the superhighway of the body. This is how we do everything. Like this is physics. Like this is it. And so it clicked for me, and I just went down into. I went hard into the physics aspect of stuff, and then I went
Hmm.
into the chiropractic aspect of stuff, and then I found network spinal analysis work, and that, and then I've obviously after Richard's work was different versions of what this kind of frequency stuff was. It was a
Hmm.
different way of reading people and then working on people. And I just really experienced a ton of detox. And so I started to understand like I could only awaken to the level I was in my body, not out of it.
Hmm.
Those things were commensurate on each other. And to, the whole new age movement, to their credit, I don't know if they knew better at the time, but you're taught to leave your body and look in. Okay.
Hmm.
You're taught to leave and astral project to get information, which is incredibly dangerous
Yeah.
because you're just leaving your vessel open. It's like basically leaving all of your doors open in your car in the middle of a highway.
Yeah.
All of your doors open all the time. Anything can come in, anything can take over, all these things. I mean, believe me when I say, when you really start navigating the multidimensional arts, it is the wild fucking west. And you need to know how to be in your body and be pretty fearless with anything that comes your way.
Yeah.
And you're going to be up against, I mean, this is why like we'll always do probably individual sessions because I see new shit every time. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really cool. And I'm having to learn and talk to like different levels of people's shadows on how they did that. Like, how did you get in there? What is this? Like, what? How is that? And I just collect data and it just is like absolutely fascinating. So I really, really focus on the body because I didn't get it and I fucked it all off for a long time and I paid for it. So
Hmm.
the more that I honor the body and I tell you guys about how to find and be in the center of your body, which I've honed and refined over time
Hmm.
because no one's teaching it exactly how I'm teaching it. And if I can help people understand that, like, okay, here's the concepts and the mechanics and the physics of what's happening. Okay, just so you guys, I'm going to talk to your minds a little bit, all right? But your spirit body is all around you. So why the hell would you want to leave it? It's
Hmm.
like Wi-Fi and your iPhone trying to connect to each other. The further you are away from the Wi-Fi connection, the less signal you have.
Hmm.
So your job here is to stay dead center into the body for as long as you can and experience presence and then experience the fullness of who you are, right? In these moments. And when people talk about that, they're like, Tali, I don't even know what that fucking means. Like, what are you even saying? Like, I didn't even know how to be in my body. I didn't even know when I was out of it.
Hmm.
And so I think most people don't
Yeah.
unless they're sick, unless they get sick. So when we're unwell and we're not present, we get sick. And that happens. I mean, patterns will push you out and it's a constant push and pull
Hmm.
really of like detoxing and then getting yourself back into your body and allowing those patterns to hit the physical because we could clear all we want at spirit level. We could just clear our faces off and it can become very addictive.
Hmm.
And we're so used to doing that we feel like we constantly have to be in the deletion process or else we're not doing the work.
Yeah.
And I can say that the rest and digest phase is equally as important as the clearing and deletion phase. So that's why I kind of have these intense bursts of, well, now I have, a program where people will just be able to access monthly sessions
Hmm.
and they'll be able to stay consistent with a lot of downtime in between because if you're new and you're going right into something that's full on, you're going to detox like high holy hell. Some
Hmm.
people will or some people not. And the level of detox is commensurate also to how much you're in your body.
Yeah.
So we'll have to clear at spirit level for a while. And then the more you actually start to physically detox the body,
Hmm.
the liver, the kidneys, the reproductive organ, the heart space, the brain, the more you start to detox the body, the more these patterns are going to reveal themselves.
Hmm.
So it's just like, yes, it's cliche to talk about it peeling the onion, but it's like imagine you're a ball of light that's literally has been bound by rubber bands or strings, and there's this little crack of light that's kind of trying to come out, and I can't get in there without like snip, 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 snip all the outside layers
Hmm.
until you do that for yourself.
Yeah.
So the body has to understand the assignment. It has to, what I call about ripple into the physical. So the body is time based. Your spirit is timeless.
Hmm.
So if we clear at the timeless space, which is where the quantum energy and the quantum mechanics and the quantum side of what I do and what you're doing comes in, it has to ripple in to present time
Yeah.
into the physical body. And that's where it gets a little gnarly for people because it can get really uncomfortable, but it also like watch your face change, watch your body change.
Hmm.
Because you've been carrying, you're the latest rendition of your family heritage, right? Enter the 19 generations before you, your last name, 75.0.
Hmm.
You're the latest aggregate. Like, who are you if you didn't have all that shit running? So that's the question. Like, really, who are you without your patterns?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you proceed to answer that question. So really important to understand the mechanics of staying in the body because it's an infinitely in and then expansion out mechanic, not leaving the body to get information about yourself and then staying out there. You'll just in which is again why I just have I have trepidation around psychedelics
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the shooting out of the body and seeing yourself from a different perspective. And I mean, I love that people will get the shift they need. A lot of these, the Filters are really heavy, and that's what people are looking to get through. They're looking to get through the identity filters of addiction and depression, suicide. Really helpful medicine to do that. But if you're sitting with Mama Ayahuasca on your 37th ceremony, I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
what?
Have you seen the Aaron Rodgers documentary?
Oh my God. Yeah. Bless
Bless
it,
him.
man.
I know.
Gosh,
I just wanted to go and give him a hug. I mean, he's really trying, but I was like, I don't think this is sending
I
like the
was
right
like,
message.
he is so wildly out of his body. Here's a
Mhm.
really, really, really good example,
Yeah.
okay, of a seeker who has clear mother-father wounds. And he's
Hmm.
from like an hour, half an hour from where I grew up, right?
Okay.
I know exactly where he's from. I know this type. And the seeking and like the strict, emotionally unavailable dad, all of the sensitivities and stuff, I'm really sensitive to that. But talk about somebody who has absolutely no idea how to reference himself in time. He has no
Hmm.
identity. He has no idea who he is. And every time he does a plant ceremony or he does something, he's probably microdosing anyway on a regular basis in between ceremonies and or doing ketamine because you can see the frenetic energy.
Hmm.
You can feel the fact that something's off because he's so frenetic.
Yeah.
The energy is so unstable. But this is my whole point about doing plant medicines is post integration with someone who knows what the fuck they're doing. And a lot of these people will go to Costa Rica or wherever the hell they're going, Peru, and sit with all these different plant medicines and not have a post-integrative practice and
Hmm.
get really, really, really distorted. It'll push you further and further and further out of time until you're just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I worry for him because you can tell that because he doesn't have a center, he doesn't have the mechanics, and he hasn't been working with someone who's going to help him integrate, the ego still hasn't, this ego aspect of him is still trying to hold on to his identity as a footballer.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, let it go.
Hmm.
Just like walk it right on out. But when that's you and that's who you think you are, he's still referencing off of wanting to be the best.
Yeah. And I
So
hope
the
that people listening to this can see that in themselves of like I know pretty much everyone who comes to finding fertility. They know stuff. They're very smart, they're very educated, they have all the information, they think they're doing all the practices, and they're still saying, I'm not pregnant yet. I haven't reached my
uh-huh.
ultimate goal. I'm holding on to these things so tightly. And it's so hard to articulate to them. And I know you know, and I know that surrender and that letting go. And maybe that could be a good
Yeah.
segue to some of the things that you've been thrown into the fire when you talk about women on the internet.
I think deep down women want to be controlled.
Yes, there, that one.
Tali. I was like, what? I will say it. But I have to say it like my editor was like, girl, this is fire. I was like, let's go. Yeah, so what specifically I've been dragged so hard. I just got dragged today. I actually love it. So bring it bring it
Yeah.
on. I was like, it's called opinions, honey. And I was like, I don't give a shit. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm here to help shake up what you believe to be true for yourself. And I'm
Mhm.
here to shake up what people's understanding of having an ego death is. It's not what it is. It's identity deaths. Okay. It's identity deaths that the ego is referencing off of. Women are obviously grossly I mean, I say obviously because to me, I've gone through every iteration of archetype that has caused a lot of pain. And I think we're in a collective mother wound, we're in a collective feminine wound, and we're starting to. So I'll reference nature with regards to women. If you look at nature and you look at the gendered aspect of nature, like F for female, basically, women are the females are vicious. They
Mhm.
are vicious. And we're seeing that against each other because we're so tired and burnt out of being fundamentally let down by the masculine right now.
Mhm.
Like we're fundamentally pretty burnt out. And I can say that the next arc of my life is surrendering to a place within myself that I didn't know it was possible because you can only grow so much, when you're constantly in self-reflective work. You can really only grow so much in a vacuum with yourself and your friends and stuff. And I think a lot of people will get to a certain place, and women included, and just say, I just don't have the strength anymore. I'm just too tired.
Mhm.
I have to fight it all. I'm just done. It's easier for me to shut that off. than to experience it. And I can say that's such a big miss in what we're here to experience as women, which is full on pleasure and surrender, and like allowing men to step up and experience responsibility and provisionship and care. And this is not like some patriarchal fucking, oh, you want to go back to the 50s, yada, yada. No, like you can read my content and come back to me and have like an, an attempt to have some real conversation and discourse about what my points are and what I'm seeing in sessions. But, after thousands at this point, I can say that there's a theme emerging.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dealing with very intelligent, very resourceful, women who fundamentally are exhausted, burnt out, and incredibly capable, and would love nothing more than a strong ass, uber masculine man to be like, I got it.
Yeah.
Let me prove it to you.
Yeah.
They would love that shit. Like, please fuck, take it, lead, something, choose a restaurant, something. Like, take initiative, something, right? Like, please. And I think they get the warrior mama, the fighter, the warrior pattern inside of us gets kicked in, and we start to drain the shit out of our feminine energy. And I can say specifically because I worked on several people and clients who had fertility issues or are desperately trying to get pregnant or want to be a mother and have gone through so many different rounds of whatever. And I look at the patterns, and like I'll see now a combination of several things. Women feeling like they need to give their partner a baby in order for them to be truly happy.
Yep.
So something's already missing in the marriage. I was like, so you don't really want to be a mother. You just want to give him something or create a hook or whatever else. And I go, check that, because what baby wants to come into that environment?
Yep. Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm like, mamahood is like the highest calling in the universe. Like, do you know that? Like, if you check in with like the frequency of Gaia, she was like, talk about it, mama. I got 8 billion people. I got 8 billion babies. They all acting crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if you actually like tune into the energy of the universe and you connect to the creator energy, create tricks, or however you guys want to call it, fine. But like creation energy, I'll say that. Male frequency as creator, and then creation. If you tune into that, you'll see that the frequency of actually guiding a soul towards their own autonomy is like the highest level mastery position you could have in universal order in this life as a female, is to be able to have the opportunity to guide a soul, not to give your man a baby, not to have, ooh, Pinterest pumpkin with my baby. Okay, not the superficial shit, and not having them be a reflection of you. You have to have zero ego, and you also can't sacrifice yourself.
Okay, we are going to pretend it's 1991 and you have to wait next week for the next episode. Remember, I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember back in the days where you literally had to wait 7 full days to watch the next 30-minute episode of like The Full House or something like that. I hope you have a beautiful week, and until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. By discovering the right path for you in the 6 essential steps, including diet, rest and recovery, energetics, awareness, mindset, and surrender, you can create the family of your dreams. I know you've already downloaded the amazing free guide, but if you're ready to really truly step into real action, make sure you either grab the 6 steps to boost your embryos, or look into Fertile Body for physical support, Fertile Mind for mindset and energetics. And if you want it all, that's where Dreams, the online course, comes in. Make sure for personal guidance, you can join a community session or book a one-to-one private call. And remember this: transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body, follow your intuition, make it possible. Oh, and if you're still here and you love this podcast, please take some time to leave us a review. It's like literally the only way other people can find this podcast. So help a sister out.